So hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Margaret St. John. I'm the head of support here at Commerce7. I'm joined by the lovely Robert Zeraldo, who is one of our amazing support specialists on our team. So today we're going to be walking you through our 2022 data book. So this is my favorite free training Friday of the year because we talk about all of the insights that we gather from the year previously from all of you. So it's really wonderful information and can really help you drive growth and sales within your organization.
Exciting.
It is. So our agenda today, so we'll talk quickly about what the data book is. If any of you joined without knowing what it is, I'll just briefly overview exactly what the data book is. Next, we'll talk about club key takeaways. Robert's going to touch on both e-commerce and tasting room key takeaways, and then we'll have a summary of the pros and the cons that we found in the data book. Full disclaimer before we get started, if you've already read the data book in detail, this might be a bit of repetitive information as we're going to definitely go through some of the same information. So just so you guys have that information to begin. Awesome. So what is the Commerce7 Data Book? So every single year we do an annual assessment of the industry. So we look at data from about 1,400 wineries, which is extremely valuable data. So we take these insights to help you drive growth within your organization and to help drive positive customer experiences, of course. So I'll dive right into clubs. So in 2022, we saw a total membership net increase of about 4.16% since 2021. So overall, all wineries on the platform saw about 4.16% growth in their membership growth. The average order value for the club channel is about $268.23, which is up about $27.53 from 2021. We hope that that is attributed to allowing edits and customizations, which I'll get into in just a few minutes. So next here, roughly 75% of our wineries are using user can choose package types for their club, which is really awesome to see. We're really excited about that. This allows for utmost customization for customers and optimal customer experience. However, I do want to call out that there are 25% of wineries that are still using set item packages. So if that's you, we really recommend allowing some customization for your customers, whether that's just adding a couple more bottles for them to choose from, to allow for a little bit more customization for your customers to choose their experience with your winery. And the last stat here, 28% of the wineries using Commerce7 have at least one subscription club. So we really want to see that number go up by next year. We really love our subscription club model and it has a lot of great benefits. One that I want to call out specifically today is that these orders process on more of a rolling basis. So when you have subscription club model, it's different than your traditional club model because if you don't have one set day where you're processing hundreds of orders at once or thousands of orders at once, depending on the winery. Basically, depending on when the customer signs up for the club, that becomes the date that their club processes on each month, and that is a rolling basis. So they operate more like web orders than they would a traditional club, which can be easier on your fulfillment process and easier on your team in general to manage these orders. So if you don't have a subscription club built into your system yet, I highly recommend looking into it. I just met with a winery this week to talk about how they can strategize on that. And I would be happy to meet with any of you as well. So if you'd like to have a meeting to set up and talk about this and strategize on how you could maybe approach this in the future to help drive your e-commerce subscription sales, let me know. Happy to have a Zoom call with you to talk about this further. So the reason that I'm so excited about subscription clubs is because the percentage of members who sign up online is significantly higher for these subscription clubs. So 46% of online signups are for subscription clubs. Of course, the remaining 54% is likely from the tasting room for these clubs, whereas traditional clubs, only 18% of these signups are from online. So that means that about 82% are coming from your POS, your tasting room for the sign up. So if you consider the online pull being much more significant for your subscription club, I would definitely consider having at least one available for your customers to choose from. And the reason being is that customers in different cities or different states, they value the convenience of choosing their frequency, choosing the items, and having their subscriptions chosen for them based on their purchase history, because that's exactly what the algorithm does. So they have different benefits than a traditional club, which would be more targeted to your local customers and more targeted to people who could have tasting room benefits like free tastings or events, things like that. Subscription clubs really do market to the online and e-commerce sector a lot more. So this is a huge stat that I wanted to call out. Next, we have a lot of inquiries through support asking, on average, like how many orders does someone place before they join a club? So I always love to call this out. You can query for customers who are not a club member, who have placed more than 4 orders, and then you'll have a really, really great list of customers who are ripe to be part of your club. You can send them an email marketing campaign, an SMS marketing campaign with Redshirt if you're using Redshirt. And these people are the likeliest people to join your club. So keep that in mind. 4.22 is the average number of orders that a customer will place before they are willing to join a club. And one of the last things I wanted to call out for clubs here is the voluntary churn reasons. So if you take a look, the largest percentage, 2 largest percentages are too much wine and financial reasons. Now, we know that there are a lot of people who don't like having the skip option available on the dashboard for their customers. And that being the option to allow your customers the option to skip a shipment. However, I really wanted to call out this specific statistic because offering the option to skip a shipment could be the make or break between someone canceling the club altogether. So if you have someone who's ready to cancel because they have too much wine, offering the ability to skip a shipment could be that one factor that could keep them a club member and extend the longevity of their membership. Same with financial reasons. So for this reason alone, I really, really do recommend allowing that skip button on your dashboard because it really does make a big difference and could keep you wine club members for the long term. And on the same note, we saw, I don't have a stat page for this on our Free Training Friday, but we saw about the percentage chance that someone does skip a shipment is 9.1%. So it's not high. It's not like they're going to be skipping every single shipment. Basically, that would be 1 in every 10 shipments likelihood as a very rough estimate. And then I also wanted to call out some details on the club in general as well. So 31% of members will edit their shipment when given the opportunity. So that means that they have the option to do the following statistics. So 13% is the average increase in order value when edits are made. So if they're given the opportunity to edit their shipment, it's likely that their order value will increase by 13%. So keep that in mind. If you're making your packages late and not getting those 2-week and 2-day email reminders being sent out, you might want to adjust your timing on that to make sure that you're getting the opportunity out to your customers to edit these shipments. And then next, 21% is the average increase in SKUs when edits are made. So on average, someone's adding at least 20% more to their shipment when they're allowing edits. So another key takeaway here for those of you having set item packages, you may want to allow some customization for this particular reason. Awesome. So now I'll pass it over to Robert, who's going to hop into our e-commerce takeaways.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Margaret. So as we all know, there's been such a recent shift towards online shopping, and that trend is going to definitely continue in the wine industry and DTC in general. So when we look here, we can see that it's a vital contributor to overall sales. It's 18% of all direct-to-consumer sales for Commerce7 in 2022. And Margaret, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Awesome. So right now, 20% of consumers that shop with Commerce7 on a Commerce7 website, they use a one-click checkout. So streamlining the checkout process, definitely one of the best ways to lower your cart abandonment rate. We've really tried to reduce the fields in the checkout intentionally by design, just in order to only require the most relevant information, again, making the transaction quick and seamless for the customer when they are shopping online. And Margaret, next slide, please. So if we see here, one thing I want to touch on quickly as well, not just our regular checkout, but our guest checkout as well. We did cut that down again, just really streamlining that experience and removing any fields that aren't relevant or confusing, or any fields that are not required by the state reporting as well. So when we see here, when we're comparing our V1 checkout to V2, the conversion rate when an order is started on the V1 checkout is 30%, whereas on the V2 checkout, it's at 34%. And then if we look at an online club sign-up conversion, we see on the V1 checkout, it's 3.8%, whereas on the V2 checkout, it's 6.8%. So a big thing on the V2 checkout is when you allow customers to sign up online, they're actually able to pre-select the products for their first club shipment, which again, just having a visual into what's going to be in the shipment really will help with that conversion. They know what they're going to be receiving and they feel, kind of compelled to follow through with that sign up there. So again, just kind of going over, we've really streamlined that checkout process to make it easy, the least amount of fields, and just really getting those orders converted or those club signups converted as well. And next slide, Margaret. Awesome here. So in terms of making that checkout process easier, we definitely are going to always advocate for mobile wallet payments to be available. We definitely see that when you have mobile wallets available, so things like Apple Pay, Google Pay, 13% of those checkouts are being done with those mobile wallets, and 7% of those online club signups are also being done with a mobile wallet. Again, it's just really simplifying that experience. People are able to complete an order with the most minimal amount of action required from there and not needing to enter card details, and just making that checkout process as seamless as possible. And Margaret, next slide, please. Awesome. So here we are going to talk a little more about a cart. So we see on average that 6.9% of carts are completed 24 hours after they're started. So for that reason, we do have a persistent checkout. We believe this is the best customer experience. You can add items to your cart, come back at a later time. They're still there. You're able to complete that checkout. So by design, we definitely, believe saving the cart, allowing for those persistent carts to remain. You'll see, on average that there is a percentage of customers that are going back to complete those carts at a later time. So leaving those carts, that's definitely the best experience. And that's the reason we do use that persistent cart as well. And next slide here. Awesome. So just touching a little more on the personalization side of the e-commerce experience, we do have amazing tools to basically personalize the content that's displayed for your customers when they're coming on your website. So based on whether they're a club member, a repeat buyer, different dynamic conditions can be used to display specific content to those customers. So right now, we only see that about 15% of our Commerce7 users are using these tools. However, 40% of add to cart clicks are actually coming from personalized pages, and 13% of product views are originating also from personalized pages. So if you are looking at redesigning your website, if you're thinking of, kind of changing your, e-commerce experience, and you're going to work with a designer, we would highly recommend looking into our personalization tools to see how they can benefit you. As Margaret touched on before, if you have questions about how we can help you from our end, please let us know at support. We can definitely schedule a call to go over those in greater depth for you. Awesome. So up next here, Margaret. So we see here, we're going to talk a little more about shipping. So a huge reason that people abandon carts are high shipping costs. And we do see from the data that we reviewed that people are more willing to give product discounts. However, really, when you have a large shipping charge, even if you're offering a product discount, it still is not going to really mitigate that cart abandonment. So we really advocate building the cost of shipping into your products anywhere possible, offering incentives like free shipping as a cart carrot. Definitely, the more ways you're able to offer a lower shipping charge, you're going to see a higher conversion rate for your sales. So if we see the statistics here, 17% of e-com orders have a product discount, 23% have a shipping discount, 10% have a product and shipping discount. And then the average shipping charge on an order is about $22.13, and the average discount is about $4.58. So again, really just anywhere you can discount the shipping, you're going to see, a return on that, right? But I know it is something that can be a bit tricky given the cost of freight. So just, even looking at building it into the price of the product might be a great way to start. Awesome. Up next there, Margaret. So when we move along here from e-commerce to the tasting room, we will talk a little bit about email capture rate. So when you capture a customer's email address, 24% of those customers are going to create a web order, 14% of customers will sign up for a club. It's a really imperative thing to capture nowadays, right? Email marketing is so important, and in just having that email is going to empower you in so many ways to really boost your sales. And definitely with saying that, with the email capture rate, some creative ways that you could maybe approach continuing the customer journey in the tasting room might be having QR codes posted around your winery or venue where, people are able to go online, sign up, maybe for a club and or for a newsletter, different options that way. You can really, push paperless receipts. That's a great way as well. Of course, it's environmentally conscious option too, which we definitely advocate for. And then lastly, maybe offering certain incentives, discounts, something to really entice providing that email address. But of course, there's so many different ways nowadays with online and in-person ways to capture emails, but those are just a few ideas to really boost that capture rate. And up next here, Margaret. So with that being said, it's so important to know the customer. So with talking about email, we see that 48% of orders are started with a customer record when we're talking in the tasting room, and 52% are started with a product. We really strongly believe starting with the customer is the best way to personalize that guest experience. You really get to see if they're a club member, their recent orders, their lifetime value, just really important things. In addition, if you're utilizing our smart POS notices, for example, you'll see maybe it's a birthday, for example. There's just so many powerful pieces of information that are there when you bring up the customer first. So we really do advocate for starting with a customer when you're building that cart. Again, really ties into the email capture as well. So just really knowing the customer in that way, and always building the cart with the customer attached first. And then from there, I mean, really overall, in terms of, the tasting room, it's just always personalizing that guest experience. And that would kind of be where I'm going to leave off. And I'll pass it off to you, Margaret.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert. I think there's really, really valuable content in what you talked about. My favorite is the personalization block, so I'm going to take time to call that out again. Robert mentioned that only 15% of wineries are using this tool, but 47% of add to cart clicks are coming from these pages. So consider that there's definitely an ROI there for your customers, for your business. It's huge in terms of driving growth for your organization. So please, please look into using personalization tools. They're really, really powerful. So just a quick summary here, and this is listed in our data book as well. The pros that we've seen is direct-to-consumer sales are up compared to both 2020 and 2021. Our point of sale and club sales are up compared to 2021 as well. There's a significant opportunity to grow wine clubs outside of the tasting room if their right values are communicated during, including convenience and flexibility. So we really think that e-commerce opportunity for subscription clubs is something that a lot of wineries could take advantage of. And on that note, I actually had a question this morning come in about using a shipping subscription. So maybe giving an annual fee for your customers to allow them to have discounted shipping. So they pay X dollar value every year, and then they get a specific flat rate fee for their shipping on every order they place on the e-commerce website. So if you're curious about accomplishing that, let me know. I think that was a really cool idea that I talked about this morning. And then lastly here, there's untapped potential to expand your email marketing reach if you have a really big focus for your tasting room staff to be collecting emails. So like Robert said, use enticing things like maybe structure your sales associates bonus structure based on the number of email addresses that they're collecting. There's so many ways that you can really motivate your team to collect those email addresses so you can continue that customer journey. And then lastly, some cons here. So despite our efforts to promote our industry leading practices, we have seen a slight decline in performance of certain key areas. So the average number of wineries offering subscription clubs remains stagnant. So we didn't see a huge adoption of subscription clubs because we're not really sure exactly why, but I'm curious if you guys have any feedback on that, we'd love to hear it. And then secondly here, although we have turned on personalizations by default for all tenants, many wineries aren't utilizing this tool and it's leaving potential sales on the table. So I know I called that out at the beginning, calling it out at the end. Like, please take that away from this conversation today. It's really, really important, and we want to see you guys succeed. So that's why we're really honing in on that. And then I will be putting a link to download the data book in the chat here. Just one second. And you guys can all go ahead and download that if you haven't already. There's some more insight that we didn't talk about today, but a lot of it is what we talked about today. And like I said, every year we do release this really valuable document. So keep an eye out for next year once it's ready, usually about February, March, every single year. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope that you learned something. And now we'll get into some questions.
Okay. All right, Margaret. I mean, I see here from Jessica, she's saying subscription clubs are scary because it is so difficult to forecast revenue and inventory needs. Would love to hear how wineries are successfully mitigating these issues.
Yeah, for sure. I can totally see the value in that, or not the value of what you're saying there, Jessica. I totally understand that, especially if you have maybe low supply for your wines. I know that a lot of wineries who have maybe one or two products that remain consistent throughout the year, like you always have inventory for these particular products. Basically, those are the ones that they're offering in their subscription club. So that's typically what I've seen in terms of managing inventory, is if you do have any consistent products that are never really out of inventory, those are a good place to start, at least. Maybe also approaching the shipping discount subscription club could be an option for you guys too. So having maybe that set rate that you charge your customers annually, and then they get a flat rate fee for their shipping every time they order online. That might be another option you want to consider to drive your e-commerce growth. But if anyone has any information for Jessica based on your personal experience, please throw it in as a question, and I'm happy to share that with the group.
Awesome.
So Steve here, do you have data on churn rate on subscriptions versus traditional? At the moment, I don't have data on that actually. I'm happy to see if I can get that for you though. If you would like to send me maybe an individual chat with your email address, I can see if I can follow up on that with our product team.
Okay. So Stacy says, what ideas do really busy tasting rooms have to collect more emails at the POS? I feel like, Margaret, I really loved that example that you had given of kind of enticing them based on like a bonus structure. I think that's such a cool idea. And I never really even thought of something like that. And I think that's a really great way to really just make them motivated by their own kind of performance, right? To really capture those emails and to know the value in that. So I love that idea. Okay, we have Steve. I'll grab Steve's email for you, by the way.
Oh, I just grabbed it. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I know that some really busy tasting rooms, like I have been talking with some wineries that are kind of like a bar, right? So they have people coming in left and right. It's really challenging to even take the time to gather an email address. I think what Robert said, I just want to echo that, like the importance really does come from training your staff to know that that's kind of the first and foremost, most important thing that they need to be doing in any customer interaction, and the checkout is likely the best way to approach that. Okay, next question here. How are subscription clubs different from clubs that already offer customization? Awesome, great question. So there are quite a few differences, but I would say the biggest ones are that you're allowing your customers the option to choose the frequency of when they receive their shipments, and it's based on when they sign up. So basically, when you're thinking about this from a customer perspective, typically when you're looking at a wine club membership website, you see, oh, we process our shipments in February and June and in November, for example. A subscription club would say, do you want to receive this every month, every 2 months, every 6 months, every year? And from there, your customer would be able to choose what frequency and what cadence works for them. So, oh, I drink 6 bottles of wine roughly every 3 months. So I'll order my wine subscription based on a 3-month cadence, versus having to wait for the winery to tell them, oh, this is when we have the wine ready and we'll ship it to you when we have it ready. It's definitely more customer centric to allow them to choose what cadence they would like to receive those wines in. And that's I would say the biggest difference. Beyond that, like I mentioned at the beginning, these orders process on more of a rolling basis. So they process more like web orders than your traditional club packages would. So not a set group of packages processing on one date, but they would roll on a rolling basis dependent on sign up date. So that would be another great benefit in terms of on the back end.
Awesome. So next we had from Chris, do you have data on how many members the average wine club has?
I do not have data on that, but it does vary quite significantly. We have wineries with thousands and thousands of members within their wine clubs, and then we have wineries with much smaller clubs. So I think just due to the vast difference in the type of winery that we work with, that data would be maybe not super relevant, but I'm happy to look and see if I can gather that for you, Chris, for sure.
And then I don't know if you see the adjunct from Steve on that about Chris's question. So club size and revenue. So I'm assuming average club size, average revenue. I feel like you kind of touched on that with
yeah. I can definitely see if we can gather that data.
Perfect. Okay, and the next question was, a lot of emails are already captured via Talk, Seller Pass. How to increase capture?
Yeah, so basically, like if you're gathering through any integrations or any applications that you're using, that's really awesome already. Beyond that, the opportunities really do come from every single person who walk into the tasting room. So look to build a relationship and build an experience with every single person who's walking in. Obviously, I'm sure that that's what you're doing already, but before the checkout starts, maybe if they offer you their email address, they get 5% off their order when they're standing right in front of you, or something to entice them to give you access to them, that you can continue communicating with them. I know as a customer, it's usual to be like, oh no, like I don't want to give you my email address if you don't want that additional noise in your inbox, but to maybe guarantee that they're not going to receive 100 emails a day and that it's only going to be relevant content and that your marketing team is really focused on making it a good experience for people who are on your mailing list. That could be another way to increase email capture, just kind of relieve those fears that it's going to be an overwhelming amount of content that they're receiving.
Fabulous. Alrighty. Heather says subscription clubs for us would be hard with shipping, as winter and summer months are expedited shipping would be expensive. It's fair.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's certainly reasons why it would be challenging to offer that. And we'll definitely take that feedback back to our product team for sure. Okay, thank you, Heather.
Stacey, are you seeing other wineries offering full customization on Club or only allow a select amount of items to customize? We offer both subscription and traditional, but are hesitant to offer customization of those traditional clubs.
Yeah, so in terms of full customization, I'm assuming that you mean access to maybe all products within the store within their club shipment. Robert, is that what you're interpreting?
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So at the moment, we don't typically see that too much, just because it does add a lot to the UI. So I'm sure all of you are aware of what the dashboard looks like for the customer. If there was like 25 products or like 30 products listed there, it's going to be a little bit frustrating for the customer to sift through and take a look at everything that's there. I would say use a select number of products. So things that you have a lot of inventory in, products that are crowd faves, things that you see a lot of sales in, maybe SKUs that you need to get off the shelf, things like that. So I think definitely more of a curated list that you're offering your customers the ability to customize versus access to absolutely everything. I think that allows for a little bit more flexibility, and especially what Jessica was talking about with inventory issues and not being able to foresee what may happen as customers customize their shipments. Yeah, no problem.
And Margaret as well. Great.
Sweet. Nothing right now, but we'll wait a couple more minutes as usual, see if anything else is coming in.
Not seeing anything just yet. Just really just want to say again how much I love this data book, Margaret. It is just great read. Honestly, so much amazing information and really helpful to forecast for the next year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
sorry.
perfect. Chris, we're happy that you enjoyed it. Awesome. And thanks, Stacey. As Steve said, on selection, our C7 working on presenting club members. So on selection, our C7 working on presenting club members.
Steve, do you mind rephrasing that just once for us so we can take a stab at it?
With customize options.
So I'm hoping that you mean the first step of the club sign up. Oh, like their favorites. Got it. Okay. So in terms of basically like we would present based on what you would set up in the subscription club in step 2 of the setup. So basically it wouldn't be necessarily their favorites that they're presented with when they first sign up, but the products that you have within step 2 would be what they're presented with. And then from there, the algorithm would choose based on past purchase history. So if you had 3 wines, for example, available within your subscription club, but they were always only purchasing one of them, then we would continue to populate their cart with their purchase history based on what they had purchased. So in the case of a winery that's really famous for their Chardonnay, and maybe that's something that someone would want to select, then our algorithm would pull that in from their past purchase history. However, we do have to go based on what the winery is selecting to be available in the subscription club. So it's not necessarily possible to just pull in whatever based on their favorites, unfortunately. We would have to be restricted by what's listed in step 2 by the winery themselves. So that is my long answer to your question.
Just bear with me. Okay. And the next question here, how can users choose specific wines not offered in the wines selected? How can they choose request wines not visually offered? Have a member that loves 2012 wines? Great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. So in this case, we do have the option to add items that are not within the club package on the back end through the admin channel. So what I would recommend is adding a task for yourself on this club member record and giving yourself an email notification that, oh, this club's about to process and Tommy really loves the 2012 wines. So maybe go in and add a couple 2012 wines to his shipment before he has the option to go in and take a look at it. Or if he lets you know he wants those every single shipment, then you can just go in and add them on the back end. That would be our recommendation in this scenario. At the moment, customers can't navigate to your shop page and add anything they'd like to your clubs. However, we have talked about this option in the future, so we never know. Sweet. Hey, I think that's everything. So again, thank you guys all so much for joining. We hope you're just as hyped as us about these statistics. And if you have questions or want to set up a Zoom call to talk about strategy, we're here to help. We really want to. So let us know. Okay. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody.